Gypsy Rose, fake paraplegic and murderer. Let's talk about her. If you're into psychological stories and true crime content as well, then maybe you'll enjoy this video. Now buckle up, y'all are in for a freaking wild one, dude. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's life was one of abuse, deception, and ultimately murder in the end. She was born to DeeDee Blanchard. DeeDee Blanchard was a master manipulator with Munchausen's disease. I think I'm saying it right. It makes the person who has the disease think they need all of this medical treatment. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So since DeeDee had Munchausen by proxy, that meant that Gypsy spent most of her life in a wheelchair, even though she didn't need it at all. She wasn't even paralyzed a little bit. She also was under cancer treatment because DeeDee convinced Gypsy that she had leukemia and was gonna die. Gypsy spent majority of her life under her mother's lies, all the way up until she was 19 years old. Gypsy's childhood was far from typical. From early hospital visits to ultimately getting put in homeschooling by DeeDee. DeeDee fabricated a wide variety of fake illnesses for her daughter that ranged from muscular dystrophy, which was the reason why DeeDee said that she couldn't walk, all the way to leukemia. It was a lot of other things, including asthma, diabetes, retardation, stuff that she didn't have. Gypsy was a normal person. Gypsy's father, Rob Blanchard, wasn't really in the picture because DeeDee moved away whenever Gypsy was really young. DeeDee's web of deception really extended beyond medical claims. She really isolated Gypsy from her father and her family because Gypsy was wanted in Slidell and numerous other parishes in the surrounding area around New Orleans. She was stealing money from her grandfather and her father, bouncing bad checks in Slidell, New Orleans, Metairie, while also lying about Gypsy. And so the family started questioning everything, as did Rob, Gypsy's father. And they started questioning DeeDee. What DeeDee did, instead of facing the music, she up and left to Missouri. Specifically, she moved to Aurora, Missouri after Hurricane Katrina, and that was her reasoning. Her family had said it had came at the time after everyone was really questioning her on what was going on with Gypsy. So the community rallied behind them as they moved, and they were all in the dark about what was going on between DeeDee and Gypsy. As Gypsy began to get older, though, she began to question her mother's narratives on what was going on with her. She realized that her mother's kind of crazy, so she began to try to escape, which, can you really blame the girl? Like, she met this man, we don't know the name of, at a Comic-Con convention back in 2011, I believe. She met him in the crowd or something, or they bumped into each other and they exchanged phone numbers. And so they started texting, and Gypsy escaped later that night to his hotel room. But in reality, it did not take long for DeeDee to find Gypsy. DeeDee had random connections with the man that Gypsy was with, so she was able to find him after like 4 hours. After Gypsy tried to escape, DeeDee dragged her back to their house, chained her to her bed, smashed her phone and her computer with a hammer, threatened to smash Gypsy's fingers next if she ever attempted to do something like that again. Time moves on, and Gypsy starts an account on a Christian dating service, and she meets somebody, a man by the name of Nicholas Godejohn. Now, some background information about Nicholas. He has Asperger's. He had been arrested prior for masturbating in a McDonald's. That's really all you need to know about Nicholas. So Gypsy really was longing for her freedom by this point, and as her relationship with Nicholas kept growing online, her mother had no idea that Gypsy even had a boyfriend or was even in contact with the boy. Or so eventually, Gypsy devised a plan to get Nicholas to come and meet her mom. Now, Gypsy couldn't exactly tell her mom how she knew Nicholas or where Nicholas came from, but Nicholas showed up at the movie theaters while DeeDee and Gypsy were seeing the live-action Cinderella. As one could guess, this encounter did not go as how Gypsy would planned it to go. DeeDee hated Nicholas, saying it was very weird that he was coming to see a kids movie alone. He was a very strange man, that Gypsy needs to stay away from him, and that Gypsy were to have no contact with him. DeeDee telling Gypsy that Nicholas was a creep and that Gypsy needs to stay away was the final straw for Gypsy. Prior to this meeting, Gypsy and Nicholas had always talked about their Plan B. Plan B essentially was that Nicholas was gonna protect Gypsy no matter what, from anybody, even Gypsy's mother. That is the only thing on his mind. That's the only thing he's gonna be able to think about. After Gypsy's mom meeting Nicholas and not liking him one bit, that set Gypsy off off to the point to where she texted Nicholas telling her it's time for plan B. Nicholas was in shock, but then that shock quickly turned to happiness because he realized that they were going to be able to spend the rest of their lives together. After Gypsy had asked Nicholas to unalive her mother, Gypsy had devised a plan to buy Nicholas a bus ticket from Wisconsin, where he lived, all the way to Missouri. Whenever Nicholas arrived to Missouri, Gypsy met him at the back door with a knife and a roll of duct tape, and that is when Nicholas Godejohn unalived DeeDee Blanchard. It's kind of a shitty case. It's kind of a shitty scenario. You can obviously point all the fingers you want at Gypsy, but you also have to look at the position she was in. For 19 years of her life, she was being manipulated, abused, all of the above. At least I've never been in that position. None of us have ever been in Gypsy's shoes. I'm never saying that murder is the correct route or the correct way to go. It is definitely not. But you can't judge the girl. That's all I'm saying. While the murder was taking place, Gypsy went into the bathroom and put her hands over her ears so she wouldn't be able to hear everything happening. When Nicholas went up to her mother's bedroom, DeeDee awoke startled at first and didn't scream yet, but started calling out for Gypsy, saying, "Gypsy, Gypsy, help me." And it took everything in Gypsy not to run to her mother and go and help her right then and there. The fact that she didn't was because she was petrified. She kept laying there on the bathroom floor with her hands over her ears as her mother was getting stabbed by Nicholas Godejohn. After the murder took place, Gypsy and Nicholas left. They mailed $4,000 that DeeDee had in savings to Nicholas's address in Wisconsin. They themselves took a bus to Wisconsin. They would be on the run for the next 5 days. Nobody really knew that they had done it yet, but they were the murderers, no doubt. The reason they really got caught, they were in a hotel room and Gypsy had gotten access to the internet again. She had a Facebook account that she split with her mother, and on that Facebook account she had made a post saying, "We slayed that fat pig dead, and then I her daughter." Yeah, I'm just gonna let that one sink in for you. That's the reason they got caught, because people started calling in being concerned for DeeDee's safety. A couple days after the fact, a police officer went over to go check on DeeDee Blanchard because of the post made by Gypsy, and that was whenever DeeDee Blanchard was found unalive. Whenever the police scooped up Nicholas Godejohn and Gypsy Rose, Gypsy denied everything at first, which, I mean, obviously it's gonna, they're gonna do that, but Nicholas was already confessing. Nicholas confessed to everything, and he said that he wouldn't have even done it if Gypsy wouldn't have asked him to do it.
The only reason I did it is because I did it for me and her. That's the real reason I did it. I would have never did it if it was not for me and her.
Okay, so you wouldn't have done it if somebody else would have asked?
No.
Okay.
There's no way I would have did it for anyone else.
Okay, so you just did
I
it.
truly do worship her to the point there's nothing I want to do for her.
But Gypsy said that she felt trapped and that she felt like she had no way out. I don't know, man. It's a really sticky situation. So yeah, that's the story of the murder of DeeDee Blanchard. It's a really weird story. Not a lot of people really knew about it up until recently. Now everybody knows about it. That's gonna be it for today's video. Peace!